It's Friday, the 15th of December. My name is Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. And last night, a young instructor and a student successfully crash landed their Diamond DA-40NG trainer aircraft, that's the diesel model, on the freeway just short of the Asheville, North Carolina airport after suffering a partial engine failure, dual ECU failures, smoke in the cockpit, and then a complete engine failure. Both the student and instructor were able to walk away from this aircraft before it was completely engulfed in flames. We've got good ADS-B data and good ATC information. Let's check it out. The student and instructor involved in this accident come from the Lift Academy, a ab initio training program for Republic Airways. The aircraft involved is the Diamond DA-40NG, which is the diesel-powered version of the Diamond DA-40, shown right here. 168 horsepower, fuel-injected, turbocharged, electronically controlled engine. With an engine electronic control unit that is controlled by a single throttle located right here, which takes care of both the variable pitch propeller, the fuel injection, and the turbocharger as well. I want to take a closer look at this engine control unit because it's quite a bit different than conventional training aircraft that we're used to with typical avgas-powered, magneto-fired internal combustion engines. So this ECU takes its input from the throttle here, has dual ECUs, an A and a B for redundancy, and its inputs include two independent crankshaft sensors, two independent camshaft sensors, fuel rail pressure, engine on and off, coolant temperature, oil pressure, engine oil temperature, gear oil temperature, manifold air, two independent manifold air pressure sensors, A and B. And the output are the four injectors, the propeller, the glow plugs, the rail pressure, the fuel pressure, and the wastegate controlling the turbocharger. This unit requires electrical power to operate, and it also has a backup battery system exclusively for the engine ECU to keep it running. If both ECUs fail, the engine will fail. Because this system requires battery power to operate, the master switch is now covered with a red guarded switch. You test the ECU before you take off using this switch here. This panel is located off to the left of the instrument panel. And then you have a voter switch to vote which ECU you want to operate in the event of an emergency. Normally, this switch is left in auto, and the computer determines which ECU to operate the engine. But in the event of an emergency, as we'll get into the checklist, you'll see that you have the choice to choose ECU A or B. Here's a closer look at the diesel engine in the Diamond DA-40NG, the Austro four-cylinder diesel engine using automotive technology. This crew was faced with a daunting number of emergency checklists. During this emergency, it probably started out with engine troubleshooting in flight. Right away, fly the airplane, airspeed 88 knots. And the CFI mentioned that to ATC, that he had his best glide speed. And you can see this on the ADS-B data when we take a look at it. Power lever max. If ECU, that's the engine control unit, A and B cautions appear simultaneously, if the indicated load remains unchanged and the perceived thrust is reduced, and if the engine noise level changes or the engine's running rough, power lever idle for 1 second, then power lever slowly increase to 1,975 RPM. If the engine power shows a power loss during the power lever increase, power lever idle for 1 second, slowly increase and stop prior to the previously observed engine power loss RPM. Then it warns you not to increase the power setting beyond 1,975 RPM or the previous power setting determined previously. And what you've basically done is set the engine up to operate in limp mode, partial power mode, 65% power. Then you can continue to troubleshoot the engine by checking the circuit breakers, swapping between ECU A and B with the voter switch, voting which ECU you want to try to operate the engine. Get it back to auto, fuel valve emergency, fuel valve normal, alternate. It's a very long and complicated series of checklists. Then, if the engine fails completely in flight, You got airspeed 88 knots, flaps up, basically glided on in. There's a separate restart of the engine in flight checklist. And finally, the worst emergency checklist of them all, smoke and fire in flight. Engine fire in flight, cabin heat off, select appropriate emergency landing area, turn the fuel off, power lever max, emergency windows open if required, land immediately, and evacuate. Now, gliding in the Diamond, like all of the Diamond aircraft with a high aspect ratio wing, glides pretty good, 9.7 to 1. Here's the ADS-B data from ADS-B Exchange, departing from Knoxville, heading to Asheville Regional Airport. Engine failure occurring somewhere just short of the Asheville Airport here, and the crew maintaining aircraft control and obtaining their best glide speed all the way into the forced landing here on the freeway. Here's the ATC audio.
Approach, lift 907, Mayday, Mayday, we've got oil pressure failure, looks like, and 2 ECU failures, we're coming in.
Oil pressure and 2 ECU
Northwest
failures.
of Asheville, it looks like we're losing all engine power, lift 907. We're dead ended.
Losing all electric power and a dead engine.
Keeping an eye out for the airport, not seeing it right now.
Keeping an eye out for the airport, not seeing it right now. We're not hearing the other side of this conversation, just the pilot side.
100, yep, and yeah, we're coasting at our best glide here.
At our best glide speed.
Okay, roger, lift 907, and yeah, it looks like, honestly, with our best glide, we're probably not going to make it, so if there's anything else close by that you see that may get us some help, let us know.
At the best glide, probably not going to make it. If you see something else, let us know. Very calm, cool, and collected during the heat of this emergency.
And approach, just to let you guys know, we've got our engine restarted. We just heard a big bang, though, so we may lose it again here. We're going to try to put some altitude on it.
We got the engine restarted, but just heard a big bang. I'm probably going to lose it again.
Well, we're trying our best. Looks like we got about half power, and we're getting some smoke in the cockpit here.
Half power with smoke in the cockpit. The engine's in its limp home mode.
Asheville, ground up 6.
Up 6, Asheville.
Which runway are you using right now?
Currently we're using runway 17. The aircraft is inbound to runway 17.
Roger, up 6 from Foxtrot. Let it go north on Alpha to Alpha 8.
Up 6 to the question.
Up 6 north on Alpha to Alpha 8.
Coming straight into runway 17 here.
Yeah, lift 927. 2 souls on board, lift 907, and probably approximately 30 gallons of fuel.
2 souls on board, 30 gallons of fuel.
Proceeding on the taxiway Alpha. I'm going to be traveling north to the about Alpha 7, Alpha 8 area.
52, that's approved, and the aircraft inbound currently about 4 miles from the field. They managed to get their engine back up. They're at half power. 2 souls on board, 30 gallons of fuel.
Copy that. Thank you, Rescue 2.
Sorry, Delta Bubba. We're inside. We're going to probably have to put it down on the freeway here, lift 907.
Lift 907, we're going to have to put it down on the freeway.
Hearing from the radar room, the pilot is going to try to land on I-26. He's not able to get his engine back up.
Roger, for Alpha 6 and company here.
907, we're about to touch down on the highway here shortly, lift 907.
907, we're about to touch down on the highway shortly. And quite a few minutes later, we get the good news.
This Street 5288. We're ready for departure whenever you're able to release us.
Blue Street 5288, Asheville Tower, wind 160 is free, runway 17 cleared for takeoff, fly runway heading.
17 clear for takeoff, runway heading, Blue Street 5288. If you get any updates, love to hear it. Appreciate it.
Yep, plane is on the ground, and the 2 passengers made it out before it caught on fire.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Excellent. So excellent job, Lift 907, professionally handling this emergency at night, multiple emergencies, single engine at night, and forced landing on the freeway and living to tell about it, walking away from the wreckage. With the aircraft completely destroyed, they will probably not be able to recover the data that is normally recorded on the ECUs, which could help investigators determine exactly what failed on this engine. Nevertheless, great job by the crew of Lift Academy, and this indicates a good example to me of why I think these ab initio training programs, where you can get in a controlled training environment, a standardized controlled training environment, does produce better, safer outcomes for young students who are trying to get all their ratings, rather than just trying to go out there on their own and do it, or buying their own aircraft and attempting to do all of this on their own. These ab initio programs are generally a good, safe avenue to get your wings and get on with the airlines. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.